This is our Pine Tree High School. It is a very, very large campus. It is very spread out. This is where I graduated from, so I know this campus very, very well, even though I don't spend a lot of time on this campus. I still come here on throughout the year to work with the principal and the counselors because of different programs that I happen to work with. The campus has been added to through the years, so there are many new buildings at the high school from when I was here. Those were added when we built our Pine Tree Primary, which you have seen earlier in a video, and our middle school campus as well. So back in the day, when I went to school here, and my daughter also, 9th grade was not a part of Pine Tree High School. It was just a 10th, 11th, and 12th grade campus. So they added on and built some new buildings, and I'll show you that particular building that they added where most of 9th grade is. And so then they put at junior high 7th and 8th grade, and our middle school is 5, 6, and as you remember, our elementary campuses are grades 1 through 4. So we actually have 8 campuses in our district. One is an Excel. It's a high school of choice. So students who, and I'll show you that building, it's connected over here by high school, that students who are struggling, they may be a mom, they may be pregnant, they may have not found it easy to transition into the regular high school, they may need to work, just lots of reasons, and we wanted to provide an avenue for our students not to drop out, but to continue to get their high school diploma. And so we have created what we call Excel, and as I said, it's just the high school of choice. And we graduate those students 2 times during the school year, and it is a fabulous thing to attend that graduation, which I have the last couple of years, and see those students walk across the stage so very proud of their accomplishment. Let's continue to walk through. This is Fairmont. It's a pretty busy street. It's a 2-way, but lots of neighborhoods around in this area. Right across there, the white building is what used to be central office. Our central office is the very old high school. It was built in the 40s, and then when I went to school here, it was the junior high. When my daughter went here, it was the middle school. So it's been several things, and it's finally central office because Pine Tree continued to grow in population. More and more central office staff needed to be added, and so they just outgrew the building. It is now a ancillary building for the Longview Police. It's where a lot of our SRO officers are at times when they're not on campus, but it's wonderful to have the police facilities right here, and we work very, very closely with them in lots of different ways as we need to. One of the things I want to point is because it's such a big building or such a big campus, back in the day, it was not fenced in. You could easily get in and off a campus. People could walk in and off, but because it is so big and because safety has become such an issue in the last 20 years, because of the shootings and different things going on school campuses, it's much more difficult. I have a key that I can get into the gate, which I will be doing as I walk through, but the student parking lot is gated. It's open in the morning, but there is someone there to watch. If students need out, they have to have obviously a pass. Where I am right now is a staff parking lot, but again, you still have to get into the gate to be able to get access to the rest of the building. So I'm going to walk over. I'm going to show you very quickly. I'm not going to walk through, but I will show you where our Excel, our alternative high school is. It's back past the school bus. So that's Excel. It used to be what was DECA. So, students would come for half of the day, or for classes, and then they would go and work. There is still welding and shop and different classes in there, as well as our Excel classes. Our Excel classes use Eduphoria, so it's an online program, and as I said, we have seen great things with that. Actually, the gate is open this morning. That's interesting. But there is SRO officers over here watching and making sure that only staff come out. We are required to wear our badges, and I put my badge on the outside of my coat so that anybody could question, if anybody questioned what I was doing. And see, he just saw me videoing, and I had my badge out for that purpose, so they would not question who I was. This is the long outside corridor. It has changed a lot since I went to school here. The cafeteria is now the counselor suite. They have added a lot of computer labs. A lot of the buildings are shut. School doesn't start till 8 something. So some of the buildings may be closed, and I probably don't have access. This is one of the older buildings. There are quite a few classes down here. It was very much for science. It's anatomy and physiology, forensic science. It's still very much science classes because it was set up that way. Our athletic department is housed down here. This was actually where the principal's office and counselor's offices were back when I went to school here. But it's now our athletic department, so it's where our AD is, and all of that. So I'm going to continue to walk out. Lots of open space. The buildings are not all connected, so you've got lots of open ground, lots of walking for kids to get from class to class. I want to show you this building. This is one that I remember very well. It's dark and dingy, and I, back in the day, didn't realize how dark and dingy it is. So I'm going to go downstairs very quickly. The classrooms have one little small window, so it doesn't have a lot of light down here. But I also remember lockers, although I don't think they're used. Most kids, I know when my daughter went to school here, she carried everything in her backpack from class to class and really did not use her locker. So they have a teacher media center that's locked, but it's all connected. My mother taught here, and so I remember well that each teacher had a little area that they would go into that they could work, almost like I remember my mother also taught college at Tyler Junior College, and so they would have little sectioned areas where they would go and be able to work and have different things, and it's still set up that way as well. So one of the things I wanted to point out was the stairwell, which if teachers are not out monitoring, then students can get here and do things that are inappropriate and shouldn't be doing. And we have videos throughout the school to help monitor that as well. So this is the upstairs. This was math and history classes when I was here. And I think that's what it still is. It connects, so this is where the building used to end. It now connects to a new hallway, and because we've grown so much, it's just required. And then down below is the little theater. It's where our UIL takes place, One Act Play, which is coming up within the next week or so. It's where Excel graduation takes place. When I went to school here, when I taught here, it's where we had our convocation every year. It's where everybody would gather. When we do that now, we come together in the old auditorium, which is by central office. Lots of steps throughout the building. More classes, more classes.
Yes.
If you don't know your way around, it's very, very easy to get lost. And I can imagine being a freshman on this campus and not being familiar with it. I do know that at the beginning of the year, they have freshman orientation so that our students are very familiar with the campus. Good morning. So I'm going to show you the student parking lot and just show you a little bit of another hallway. Straight ahead is the student parking lot. There's what we call the Pirate Center that was added. It's actually a new gym. So there's volleyball, basketball, lots of activities that take place there. Pep rallies are there. I've attended those before. It's a very, very nice facility. And again, that was part of the new addition. Practice football fields way at the other side of the parking lot. Those were there back in the day, and way back in the corner, I'm not sure you can see it, is the field house. So lots of things, lots of new buildings and lots of buildings that have been here. I want to walk up and show you the library. The grounds are very well maintained. The buildings are very well maintained. In some of my other coursework, in the practicum and in previous courses that I've taken, talking about facilities and maintenance, we do have a lead custodian on every campus that works very closely with our assistant superintendent of planning and facilities. And the lead custodians and our assistant sup meet weekly to talk about needs and what's going on. And then the assistant sup actually comes to the building and the campuses and walks and does things. I see him out all the time. I want to show you. So this part right here is the old building. It's the library, which I'm going to show you. And this is part of the new library. So they added on, and the brick doesn't exactly match. It's similar because there's red in it, but you can see throughout the campus where new buildings look a little bit different. Our district has tried very hard to maintain a lot of our old buildings and keep them as functional as possible. This is the library, and this was the library back when I was here. And then they've added, good morning, they've added on this part. Of course, back in the day, we didn't have computers, so students can come in and work, check emails. But this is just more of the library, places for classes to come in and meet. A lot of reference material in here, and I love it. The old card catalogs covered by ivy, because we don't need those anymore. Everything is electronic with barcodes. Okay, let's walk out, and I'm gonna walk through what used to be the cafeteria, which now, thank you, have a good day, which now is the council facility, is also where the principal and the assistant principals are housed, and it's a walkthrough from the area that I've just shown you into the newer parts of the campus. Good morning. I am videoing for a class. So this is Annette Johnson. She's our new director of fine arts and UIL. So good morning. Good morning. So she's housed on this campus as well, since high school has such a large amount of UIL and fine arts activities. This is our administrative and counseling services, a huge big suite they have counselors for every grade. We also have our district counselor housed here. I work with him very closely when we are working with our counselors for our PEIM submission in October, and our early reading indicator that is required to be submitted twice. They have a conference room. This is not the conference room. The conference room is locked. This is where teachers' boxes are, just a little workroom. There's a conference here where our 504s are held. We have our business office here. A lot of POs go through this office because how big it is and all the things that are going on. Good morning. And our principal's office. It was interesting. I recently had this is our principal's office. I'm not going to walk in. Great conference, nice big room, open to everybody. It was funny. I recently talked with her when I had a meeting with her about summer school, and we were talking, and she talked about how that when they were initially reconfiguring this, it was all closed off. You can see the nice glass wall where she can see out, and actually people can see in, but it's still very private. And they had closed everything off, and she said, I need to be visible. I need people to see that I'm available and I'm here, I'm on campus. And so she was instrumental in having all of that changed as she worked through working with the architects and the builders on her office. I'm gonna walk and just kind of show you some of the fields. This is our Field of Dreams. This was not here when I went to school here. We actually did our baseball games at a Longview Park that's within Pine Tree School District. But as part of all the additions that have taken place over the years, we have added our own very nice baseball field that's at the back of the property. And you can see that everything is fenced in. We have a fence connected to the building, to the park, and even beyond that. Behind us are woods, and on the other side of the woods is a neighborhood. Whispering Pines is actually the neighborhood that I grew up in, and back in the day, I could walk from my house up to high school and get on campus through the woods, so there was no fencing here back then. This is all this is the cafeteria that was built, so when they closed in the old cafeteria, made those offices and the counseling suite, they added the cafeteria. I'll show you that. It's a very large cafeteria. I'm sure though for the population, it can at times get very crowded. The high school is what we use. We have every spring what we call an innovation showcase. It's where teachers we try to involve our students. They come and share things with parents, things that they've worked on throughout the entire year, and it's housed throughout the high school. And so we have a lot of things going on in the cafeteria, but because the campus is so large, it works very well for that. And we use every part. We use the Pirate Center that I showed earlier. We use the cafeteria. We use as many of the hallways as we possibly can. One of the things I want to show you very quickly is our culinary arts. Again, that was something that was added within the last 10 years or so. So it's part of our CTE program as bills continually change about graduation requirements and endorsements. Some of these things were added. It's not going to be open, but here's the bistro. So, oh, it is open. So students can come and purchase here. And what happens is our culinary arts department, our culinary arts students make the meals. And they often advertise them district-wide, so that as a staff member, I could come over and pick up a special lunch that they might be serving for that particular day. But it's a great thing, and it's also awesome for staff. Computer labs, we have multiple computer labs on this campus. This is our art studio. Nice in comparison to what we saw at Birch and Parkway, especially Parkway. Very, very nice rooms, but they were intentionally fitted this way. This was not, I don't remember back in the day what this particular room was, but they have been repurposed specifically to use for art. So you see the nice tables. Having taken some art classes in college, the tables are just the perfect height, stools to work on, lots of space for supplies, and hanging things. So a great, great space. Okay, I want to show you, if it's open, our culinary arts room. Our fine arts offices are in here. Back in the day, this was the band hall, but I'll show you the band hall over in the new wing that was built. This is still choir. So our choir rooms are still in here. A nice, lovely room. Back when I was in high school, I was in a play my senior year called The Gaslight Girl, and this is where we would rehearse. And so very familiar with this room, but this is a nice size choir room. This is our culinary arts. And a fabulous, fabulous kitchen. I have actually purchased some things that they have done before, but just well stocked, well planned. A great opportunity for our students to be a part of the culinary arts. I've actually been over here when they have had classes, and the students are very involved, working together, just creating awesome things. So a neat, neat addition for our district. All right, back out this hallway. Restrooms here, very unlike what you saw at the primary campus and Parkway, where you had an open concept, but those are littler kids. Good morning. And obviously individual boys and girls restrooms. All right, let's head to the new building, which is called the 800-900 Hall. That was part of the new addition when they moved 9th grade over here. It is an upstairs, downstairs. Downstairs is mostly English language arts. Upstairs is a lot of science classes, chemistry, biology, physics, all that. They have huge, big classrooms. So it's divided into two parts. I'll show you that. So you've got the classroom area, so when you're lecturing and that type of thing, you can have that and then go into the back with our labs. This is our high school cafeteria. Huge area. Have the snack bar. Lots of space. We have had, when we have done district-wide training, we have had some of that here because it's our biggest place to house staff development. At central office, we have two large rooms for staff development that we have and utilize throughout the year, and especially during the summer. But when you're doing something district-wide and you've got central office staff and you have staff from each and every campus, those rooms can't accommodate that. So this is the new wing that was added to move 9th grade over here. It is where parents, when they are coming in, will come. You'll see again, as I've talked about in the other campuses, they have to be buzzed in, they have to be buzzed back out to get into the rest of the campus. So security is always at the top of our thinking of everything that we do. That has changed a lot even since I've been here. Back when I first started, central office was, you could just walk in any door, but they have made an area at central office just like this so that they have to be buzzed in. They have to go through RAPTA and show their ID and wear a visitor badge. As I talked about when I first started this video, staff are supposed to be wearing our badges, and when anybody sees somebody an adult on campus that does not have a visitor badge or a staff badge, then we're required to stop them, just like you saw in the first part of the video, the SRO officer coming up to me before he realized that I had my badge on. So this is a very long hallway, but I want to show you some of the rooms. Very nice size rooms at the high school, obviously. One of our goals at Pine Tree is to keep our student-teacher ratio down as much as possible. So I know that K-4 is 21 to 22 ratio. This year we are closer to the 22 ratio than we typically have been, just because our population has grown a little bit. But in high school, that's not the way it is. Elevator, because we do have students with special needs that may need to get up or have a broken leg or something, or staff that may be carrying things upstairs. This is the nurse's office. There are actually 2 nurses here, and sometimes our head nurse, which also has an office, its central office, is over here as well. But nice size classrooms. They are over the 22 ratio, but they're well under 30. Probably about 25 to 26 students in a classroom, which for our size district is not bad. When I first started, my very first year, I was K-12 ELAR, so I spent a lot of time over here working with the teachers during collaborative planning, working on lesson plans and scope and sequence, and so I'm familiar at least with this part of the building. Again, we have stairs, places for kids to hide. Good morning. How are y'all this morning? Good. Good. Excuse me. One of the things I wanted to talk about was how our district does our transportation and school start. So the lower campuses, that's through 4th grade, so that's Primary, Birch, and Parkway Elementary. They start at 7:35. Buses start dropping off students at 7:05. So the campuses have to have staff, administrators, and other staff members doing duty to get the students off the bus, get the students out of the cars, and into breakfast. Because we have a high ECD population, a lot of our kids come to school and eat breakfast there. So they are going to breakfast, and then at the lower grades, they transition into a holding room. Some of them are in the hallways, some of them are in the gym. Some of them stay in the cafeteria. So they're different places until the bell rings for them to go to class. They are tardy at 7:35. If they're not in the classroom or on campus at 7:35, then they're considered tardy. The high school, the middle school, junior high, and high school, their classes start at 8:20. So when the bell rings, if you're not in place at 8:20, then you're considered tardy. So the reason that we do this, instead of everybody starting at the same time, is because of transportation. Because we are a larger district, we don't have enough buses to run routes for all the kids at the same time, and they did not want to put the little kids on the bus with the older kids, which I do understand that. So we have different start times. When I first started back in 2014-15, it was flip-flopped. The older grades started at 7:35, and the younger grades started at 8-something. So a couple of years ago, probably when we reconfigured, we changed that, and it seems to be working out very, very well. The older kids like to sleep a little later and get to school, and so they start a little bit later, but that means they also get out later. So our lower grades get out at 3:05, and so those buses, again, go out and deliver the students to their home, and then they come back and pick up the kids at middle school, junior high, and high school. The other thing that I have learned since I've worked in the district is, number one, that you have to think about transportation, the best use of facilities, money, and buses. So I am over summer school for the district, and so one of the things in working with our transportation director is how can we make this work? Again, we didn't want our pre-K kinder kids on the bus with our middle school and junior high kids. So what we had to do was stagger the start times for our summer school. So the students in pre-K through 4 are picked up or delivered to the campuses at 7:30. They have breakfast from 7:30 to 8, and then they start classes. And so after the students are delivered to those campuses for summer school, then they go out and pick up the middle school and junior high students and then deliver them to the campuses, and they are delivered about 8:30, and classes start at 9. So that we stagger start time. That means the dismissal time is different. So again, we are picking up our kids from campuses at summer school and taking them home, and then going by and picking up our middle school and junior high classes. For summer school, high school, they get here on their own. They either have parents drop them off, or they drive, or have come with a friend. I want to show you, it's called the 900 Hall, but it is mostly science. There are a couple of computer labs up here, but I want to show you how well laid out they are. We have classes, like I said, for survey, and then you've got a great lab area back here that's all set up, well thought out, lots and lots of storage, much more storage than the old building that I initially went through. One of the first things when I first started this video. You can see lockers still here, and unlike the first hallway that I went down, where you had the lockers, the locks on the outside, the old-fashioned locks like I used to use back in the day, these are actually built in so that you don't have locks running off, or anything like that. They're built into the lockers, so an upgrade on lockers. But all of these classrooms right through here are for science, and all set up the same way as what I just showed you. We do have a forensic class, so students are actually working through that as well in high school, and I know there's a great interest in that course. I'm going to show you more computer labs. You've seen quite a few computer labs. We've got lots of these throughout the campus. Let me see if this one's open. Nope. I may not get to show you computer labs, but they are nice, very nice computer labs, several throughout the building because of the size of this campus. They are needed throughout. Okay. Hi, how are you? Art class. This is another art class, different from the one that I showed you earlier. Obviously much smaller. It was probably not built for that purpose, but they're using it probably just because the desire to take art classes has increased, and so they needed additional space, and that's what Facilities does. Works with the campuses when there are greater needs, and accommodating buildings, classrooms, ordering furniture as needed. When we went from half day pre-K to full day, we had to add classes, and that was one of the things that we had to do, go through and take an inventory of all the materials, manipulatives, resources, furniture, and then add to that. So working with the campus principal as well as Facilities to get those things ordered, to make sure that those teachers had everything that they needed before school started. One last thing, I knew there was one more thing. I want to show you, I showed you where the old band hall is. This is the way to the new band hall. You can hear they're practicing already this morning. A suite of offices for band directors. And where are already practicing. Oh, this is much, much bigger than the band hall where I was in. Nice shelving for all the instruments, but a great, great room. Much, much larger than when I was in school. I want to very quickly show you outside. So that's the band hall. So when they have marching season, they come outside the door and they go to their marching field and practice here so that they don't necessarily have to go to the stadium. I do know they go to the stadium when they are getting ready for UIL practice to go march for that. So that it's more conducive and more like the actual thing that they will be performing on. So, but it's a great field for them to practice on. So that's a quick rundown of our high school. It is a very large campus. Lots of things have been added to on the day throughout the years, and as I said earlier, continually looking at how can we make this better, how do we need to improve, what classrooms do we need to change into a different area to accommodate the needs and desires and interests of our students.